In 1923, a young man named Walt Disney originally worked at a small studio called Laugh-O-Gram before he went on to create his own company. He used his experience to create Walt Disney, a brand new company created by Walt so he can make films free from any creative restraints. During his time making Disney, he learned how to use sounds and animation to make his films more immersive. This would help him become very popular after Disney's creation, because at the time, his films were the first animated films using sound. So Disney made these improvements and never went back to the old ways of silent movies. He later found out that they could put color into their films and allow Disney to get even closer to realism. Disney really took off after the creation of better tech because people couldn't find it anywhere else. It felt more unique and exclusive watching a Disney movie because the animation was very smooth and you couldn't find better tech if you tried. He used these new pieces of technology to both make better movies and get a leg up on the other studios. This will later help him make enough money to create something much bigger than what came before it. Even companies like Disney had to start somewhere. So in 1937, Disney made their first full-length animated movie, and the first animated movie to use color, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. This film was very important because it showed that it wasn't impossible to create a full-length movie using animation. This also caused many more great animated movies to form because other studios saw the success of Disney and decided to make their own animated films. But none of these took off like Disney's movies did. Disney had found their role, so they made more animated movies, which allowed them to make more money, which allowed them to make more animated movies. This cycle continued, and Disney became the largest studio ever. They had hundreds of employees and many great 2D movies under their belt. Disney started to make many movies using new tech that was discovered, like Aladdin and The Lion King. This period was the most critically acclaimed period of Disney's history. Many film critics call this time the Disney Renaissance, where they returned to their roots and made more amazing films. Almost every movie made during this period was a critical and financial success. But there was a new company on the block named Pixar making a revolutionary design for a computer that allowed both 3D modeling and animation. The CEO of this company, John Lasseter, had a big plan. His company was going to be the first one to make a full-length 3D animated movie, but they had to start a little smaller, so they made their first 3D short film, Luxo Jr. Pixar would later become a driving force in the creation of 3D films, so it will be important to know how they started. Pixar created better software such as 3D modeling programs and a more powerful computer so they can make 3D animated movies. But why would they want to do this? The 2D films Disney were making were still huge successes, so why would Pixar want to make 3D films? They did this because it would help studios get closer to realism, but still allow them to make more creative films than a live-action movie would. Pixar started to work on their first 3D movies named Toy Story. Disney bought them after they released Toy Story, so they could make more 3D films. But Disney wasn't done yet. They bought many other film studios and media companies such as Lucasfilms. This made them one of the biggest companies in the world. They became the largest entertainment company, only contested by a few other companies such as Universal Studios and DreamWorks. But Disney also wanted to go at 3D, so they decided to go into a business deal with Pixar. Disney would sponsor Pixar so they could create Toy Story, and Disney would get some of the money made by the film. They also did this because they wanted to produce 3D animation of their own, but found it too risky for their own company. Pixar finished Toy Story, and when it was released in 1995, it was an immediate success. It was so successful that Disney bought Pixar as a whole and started making a part 2 for it. After Disney bought Pixar, they started making 3D movies themselves, and they made a lot more money than their 2D classics. Similar to how Snow White influenced other companies to make full-length animated movies, these films encourage other companies to make 3D films instead of 2D films. And while they are a learning curve for many studios, most of them were able to make 3D films. Pixar was one of the driving forces towards 3D animation, but how did they influence other companies to make the switch? Pixar made many successful movies like Toy Story 2 and Monsters, Inc. These movies inspired other companies to try 3D animation. This caused many companies to drop 2D animation for 3D because they found it to be more profitable. Many other studios like DreamWorks found much more success doing 3D movies like Shrek and How to Train Your Dragon. These movies performed much better than their 2D films they made years before. Even though the 2D industry here in the West looks bleak, in other places it couldn't be more successful. Companies such as Studio Ghibli made movies like Spirited Away and The Wind Rises, which got nominated for Oscars for Best Animated Films. Other companies like Comics Wave Films made amazing movies including Your Name, Weathering With You, and Garden of Words. Many of these movies are still enjoyed by people all around the world. Not only is it possible to find 2D films in the East, it's also possible to find them in smaller companies like Cartoon Saloon, which made movies like Breadwinner, The Secret of Kells, and Song of the Seas. Two of these movies were nominated for Oscars, and they were both huge critical successes.